Hi everyone, tonight I have with me Geoffrey Horton, and we've just been sitting having a bit of chat about, feeling comfortable doing the show. And I know that for you this is something really way out of your comfort zone. So, we've all got patience and we do things differently. Everyone does everything differently, but this is really just about telling your story and, the one of many stories I've had on the show, people that have gone through so much heartache and stuff in their life that you wonder how they even get out of bed of a morning, because I think you're just such a brave person going through what you're going through. And of course I'm going to tell the story, or you're going to tell the story of what happened to you in your life, that you've gone through adversity in your life. And it was from, now let's go back to like a young male, and you're in your 20s, and what did you love doing when you were in your 20s? Surfing or?
Well, I did a lot of travelling when I was younger, and it was a lot to do with the fact that I wanted to escape.
Travelling to escape?
Pretty much, yeah. Life wasn't turning out to be the piece of cake that I thought it was going to be. When you're at school, you don't sort of think too much about your future. I sort of got interested in surfing, and that's pretty much all I thought about. But I thought that by travelling and surfing and combining the two, I could sort of kill two birds with one stone, sort of broaden my intellectual level of thinking, as it were, and doing something I loved, and at the same time meeting people, seeing new places.
So where did you travel to? What countries?
Well, the first place I got off the plane was a little island called Mauritius, which a lot of my fellow surfies would well know of.
So what sort of year are we talking about?
We're talking 1976.
Oh wow, see, I was 77 travelling, and I know the difference between now and then way back then.
Yes, and it's changed very dramatically from then until now. So I did a bit of travelling a couple of years ago. But where was I? Mauritius is, for those who don't know, it's a little island east of Madagascar, and islands like La Réunion, and to the north of there is Seychelles, and then you've got west of there, of course, is South Africa. So I had a ticket to South Africa all the way through Africa and to London.
Wow.
So,
way back then.
At that stage,
on your own?
I just no. I actually left with a friend. I was going to go by myself, but at the last moment, a good friend of mine parted with his lady and decided to jump aboard. So we went to Mauritius together. He wasn't a surfer, but he was a good friend and a nice guy. And we sort of parted ways there. I went to Madagascar and South Africa, and he went straight to South Africa. So we sort of, I think we did meet up again in South Africa briefly, but he was a surveyor, and so he sort of went out, doing his sort of work, and I sort of stayed doing the sort of work that I could get.
So what sort of work were you in then?
Well, before I went overseas, I was working in the bank, in the Commonwealth Bank. So
I think everyone worked at the Commonwealth Bank, didn't they?
I think they must have. Yeah.
It's a bit like McDonald's today, isn't it?
Yeah. So you can see
good training ground.
Exactly. So you can see the sort of incentive that I had to actually get out of the place. Very corporatised and not my bag, as it were. But so I ended up overseas. Type of work I did. The first job I got was a taxi driver, but I got a taxi licence
before GPSs.
But I never drove a taxi. I went around with some guy who showed me, all these different parts of Durban, and sort of got me introduced into it. And I was supposed to start that the next Monday, but I got a job on what they call a shutdown over there in Durban. In the meantime, so that was much better money, and you could either gruel it out for 50 or 60 rand a week driving taxis, or you could get really good money working on shutdowns and just
how long did you travel for?
Mechanical work. Well, I was in South Africa for about 2.5 years, and then
wow, that's a big break.
Yeah. Well, I guess I was a long time in South Africa because I had to work to, furnish originally travel in South Africa and then ongoing travel, From there I went up to Kenya, Seychelles, Sri Lanka, which I absolutely loved, then up to Thailand, down through Malaysia and Singapore and then home. And that was, I guess, that 3 years gave me, a real travel bug.
Did it achieve what you set out to achieve? That it was like your way of getting away from it all? Like, did you find yourself?
I think I did. I found a lot of confidence. I found that no matter how insecure you felt about not having money, there was always something around the corner, and there were always people there willing to help you, and you learned a lot of independence from that way of life.
Yeah,
so I came back fairly accomplished and fairly positive, ready to do a bit of work and get more money and then go overseas again. So.
And is that what you did?
That's what I did. I went to Bali the next time, I think, and eventually ended up going to places like Philippines and Hong Kong, and I went back to Sri Lanka because I just loved the place so much, everything about it. Went to India and Nepal and, sort of stuck around Southeast Asia.
Mate, you've seen a lot of the world,
haven't you? A bit. I'd never got to Europe, or there's a lot of places I haven't seen as well, but I think after marriage, I got married when I was about 26 and married an Indonesian lady I met over in Java. And so she came back to Australia and we were together for about 17 or 18 years, I think.
Did you have children
together?
We had
two boys.
Two boys, yeah.
The oldest one's now 37.
Wow.
The youngest is 27 and he's just had my first grandchild.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful little Sophia. So
it's nothing like the love of a grandchild. I think I've said that to you before.
Yeah.
And it just grows on. You can't explain it, the feeling. I mean, you love your children, there's no doubt about that. But when a grandchild comes into your life, it's a different kind of love, And I just know how I feel about my own grandchildren. And I'm sure everyone's the same.
They're just so precious.
They
so
are.
Fragile and it's wonderful to be in her presence, really. It's an honour to be in that sort of presence.
And do you think that she gives you a little bit of hope in life, or a little bit of get up and go to not give up yourself, do you think?
Well, I think she's probably a part of that motivation, but I don't know that I sort of look at her and go, gee, Sophie, if it wasn't for you, I'd be doing all these sort of terrible, harmful things to myself or anything. It doesn't work out like that, but she's a part of it,
Yeah, because I think if you think like, thankfully I have this beautiful unconditional bundle right there in my life that makes me want to get up and put a big smile on my face, and just makes me want to give the love, So I guess when you're feeling a little bit down and out in life, that when you've got something over there that you just want to love, I mean, that's got to express some sort of, gratitude in your life. Sometimes you don't even know that you've got that gratitude.
I think it's just the altruism of giving to it. Makes you think, well, if I can give this lovely little being something, you'll get rewarded by it. I know that's how life works.
Because we haven't even gone there about like what's happened in your world to, that we want to discuss. Like, do you want to tell your story, like how it all happened? Like,
about all of the cancer and...
Yeah, like just so, because we're talking about all the lovely travelling and beautiful grandchildren and, and you've really gone through a very hard part of your life as an adult that certainly changed your whole life, hasn't it, in a way? Well, in a massive way, has it not? So, do you want to tell us, rather than me ask you the questions, do you want to tell us your story of what actually happened to you?
As briefly as I can.
Yeah. Take your time.
Well, I was at the time I was working at a business I had in Mayfield. It was a diesel fuel injection business, and it was my father's business, so I started working there very young. And I was about 55, and things were just sort of plodding along. They weren't going gangbusters, and little plans that I'd had about going back and living in Indonesia and, you know, with the kids and with my wife at the time, it sort of, that had all fallen through. So things weren't going gangbusters, but they were okay. They were just sort of cruising along. And I had a partner at that time, and so things were okay. You know, the boys were growing up, they were doing well. I had a lot of access to my boys. You know, they were both living with me most of their time. And along the way, I developed a blocked nose, and I just couldn't breathe through my nose at all. And obviously, I couldn't taste anything, and I put up with it. I just kept putting up with it, thinking it'll go away. You know.
How long did you put up with it for?
Well, probably about 8 months. But it got to the point where I went to see my GP, and he kept putting me on
antibiotics or?
No, like anti-inflammatories and nasal sprays and.
Thank you, Miss Producer.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Producer. And should have brought a dictionary with me. Yeah, he kept giving me nasal sprays and things that weren't working, and I knew inherently that there was something else. I never really thought that it was something serious or bad or whatever, but it got to the point where I went to see the doctor again, and he gave me more nasal spray, and I didn't even get a script for it. And I'd started at that time to get sort of a little bit of pain around my right eye and nose, and still obviously couldn't breathe at all through my nose, left nasal or right nasal. And I started getting very, very bad headaches on the verge of being Miss Dictionary, migraines. And so I thought, I've got to do something. I went back and I was a bit more aggressive this time, and I said, look, something's wrong. I'm getting headaches. I don't feel right. I don't even look right in the mirror. I said,
so you could see something, like when visually?
Yes, I could see something. And when my mother saw me, because she hadn't seen me in a few months, she just, as soon as she looked at me, she thought something's wrong. So me living with it day to day, you can't sort of, you know. But other people who haven't seen you before, as soon as she looked at me, she knew something was wrong. So I went to the GP and I said, look, you've got to send me to a specialist. Something's got to be done about this. Something's wrong. And none of your prescribed medications work. So he said very curtly to me, look, I've got you in to see a specialist next March, you know, but don't you not turn up because, you know.
So what month was this?
This was, I think, September.
And he had an appointment for you in March?
In March. I said I'll be dead by then.
So did you really feel that? Did you feel that was, like you actually felt that you had to do something so quickly?
It had developed that quickly.
Wow, really?
But he developed that quickly from not being able to breathe through both nostrils for, you know, 8 months or so. It had developed to the point where there was something there. And I said, you've got to get me into it to see somebody soon. And he got me an appointment a week later, or in 2 weeks' time or something. I went to the NT specialist. He looked up there, said, looks like polyps to me. We'll clean them out, you'll be as good as new. Hallelujah. And he took a biopsy and sent me on my way. And I was very happy. And he rang me 2 days later, I think it was, and he said, it's Dr. Reid here, I'm sorry, but you've got cancer. And I said, what does that mean? You know, in terms of its prognosis. And he said, well, you'll be losing your right eye and your nose. He said, you're possibly losing your upper jaw and your palate and all of your teeth. And that was pretty much it. I said, thank you. What do I do now? Oh, I'll get back to you in terms of scans or MRI scans or whatever. So it was a bit of a shock to the system.
What did you do, like, as soon as you got that phone call? Like,
As
you've
soon as I
now...
got it and hung up,
Yeah, what was the first thing you did?
well, I was working on a car at the time. I was putting some injectors in a car, in a truck, in a little, ute. And I just kept working. Kept working,
So it
processing.
didn't really register what was
Yeah,
like the severity of it, or?
Well, I guess you're a bit numb. You
Yeah.
can't. It's too much to take on, because as well as them telling you what you have and a little bit about what's going to happen, there's a lot they don't tell you. So, I mean, I guess you start asking yourself those questions and you're a bit numb, and you don't really know what to think or what to do. And
Or you think maybe, if I was in that position, I'd think maybe, well, okay, that's probably the worst case scenario. And maybe it's not
you
that
always
bad.
hope that.
Yeah.
And because I had further scans to do anyway, I thought, well, maybe the scans will show up that it's not that critical. So at the time, I was just day by day. I pretty much they'd scheduled the surgery for about 3 weeks down the track. By that stage, I could put my finger up inside my right nostril and feel the polyps. They were growing. They were like little bits of cauliflower. You could see them and I could feel them. And the nose was growing out. And
That quickly?
of course, I said, what's the alternative? And he said, well, if you don't have the surgery, you die. So I said, well, okay, we'll go with the surgery. And it was very, very impersonal. The doctors, all the specialists, just you sat in a room, and I had my son and one of his friends. We were all, the three of us were there. They just came in one by one. There were about 4 or 5 surgeons who came in. They looked at the X-ray on the wall, and they all pretty much said the same thing. Hardly addressed me at all. Didn't ask me any questions. Yes, nose is going to have to come off here, and there's blah, 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 blah. And then he'd walk out and somebody else would come in.
Would you like a Vegemite sandwich? Thank you.
Yeah. And then they all went out and had a little bit of a powwow together, and came back and told you, well, this is what we think about how we're going to pursue the surgery and what the likelihood of, the surgery, going to be and all that sort of stuff. And that's it. Okay, so you go home now, and no questions, no information about, well, would you like us to do anything? Would you like any more information? You sort of left pretty stunned, I guess. But
so was that up to you to do like some research on?
Well, I guess it was, but I was.
Shouldn't be like that.
I was pretty much leaving it in their hands because it was way out of my league.
Yeah.
I mean, this is 1 in 300,000.
So no support whatsoever.
Not really, and even my oncologist, who I think I saw that day. Then I had the surgery, then I had radiation, and then I was told I had to have PET scans and I would be contacted by my oncologist. Didn't hear a peep out of him, so I had to arrange all of that, all of my PET scans, by contacting them out of hospital and.
So did you have all different surgeons for different parts, or is it just one surgeon that?
Pretty much a team of surgeons, probably in the maxillofacial area. There are a couple of ear, nose and throat guys, quite highly regarded.
Did they explain it to you in detail? So you were prepared?
No, it wasn't explained in detail, and so it was a bit of a shock when I woke up in ICU. With a tracheostomy and not being able to breathe, and so it was all a bit traumatic. But
so you've lost your eye.
Lost my eye.
So
lost my nose. Don't know if you can see what's happened there. That's the prosthesis that they've made for me, which is obviously an eye and some.
That is absolutely amazing, though, when you put that on. That is just so...
Yeah, well, for the first 2 years before I had this apparatus, I was just worried. I didn't know what to do. I was walking around looking like this or worse. And I didn't know whether to walk down the street like this, or what I eventually had to do was to get a couple of bits of tape, like PVC tape, gaffer tape them together back to back, cut it out roughly about that shape, and put bits of sticky tape around here, and that's how I'd walk around for a couple of years, and yeah.
I mean, when I look at it now, it's just like, it's such, when you just look at that nose, it looks like it's a part of your face.
Well, the funny thing was, had they known that they were going to remove my nose, and they did, obviously, you'd think they would have had some connection with the maxillofacial people to say, hey, would you guys like to take a mould of Geoffrey's face?
Yes.
So you've got his nose?
And is that what your nose looked like before?
They didn't do it. Not too bad, but I had to go, the only photo I could find was on my wedding day. I was 26, I think. And it was a photo of me from the side. That was the only way they knew how to sort of roughly get the nose right. But you'd think, you know, there seems to be, the lack of communication in the medical field is amazing. In a field where you think it's going to be as good as it possibly can be, hugely lacking in communication, hugely. It doesn't matter whether you're talking to a surgeon, it is really scary. It doesn't matter whether you're talking to a surgeon or a nurse. You get a good nurse on the day and she's fantastic. Or you get a surgeon, highly qualified, very good at their job. They're dismissive, they're arrogant. They don't listen, but they pretend that you're not listening to them. Oh, you didn't listen to me.
So is this like 1 in, what are you saying, 1 in 300,000?
Roughly, yeah. And because of that, they don't have any stats. Like you want to say, you'd like to say to them, look, because they said after your radiation, there's a chance that you could lose the other eye, you know, because that's sort of vaguely in the path of, or pretty close to the path of the radiation. And there's possible, well, you say what, 1 in 10, 8 in 10, 2 in 10? We can't tell you, because it's such a rare thing that they don't have.
They don't want to be liable.
They don't want to be, well, that's the end of the day, yeah. They never discuss odds for that reason. And I think they used to back in the old days before we had the, you know, the Sinus blues that we got from the Americans, of course. Support groups, you were saying. I've since learnt that they have a head and neck cancer support group, which is very, very good. They're held at Lamada Hospital once a month. It's not really my genre. The head cancer is, I suppose, vaguely, but because mine's such a very, very small percentage of all head and neck cancers, I'm pretty much the only one there who's had anything like this. They've all had throat cancer or some sort of, I don't know, we have a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma
Yeah,
or something.
that's it. Well done.
Yeah, I don't know. Pulled that out.
That's well done. Richard King is someone that I've previously interviewed, so you can have a look at his interview as well.
Well worth it, and he actually came, he was a guest speaker one day at the Head and Neck Cancer Group over at the Mater Hospital, and he was very, very good, as you see from his... He's a very good speaker.
But I mean, when I look at you, it's so easy to look at you, you know, because to me, they've done a fabulous job. But how long did you have to wait? Like you said to me that you cut out the tape.
Yep.
So how long did you have to wait before you actually got...
About 2 years.
So for 2 years, did you experiment to do other things, or...?
Well, the only information I got from the Mater Hospital was there's a girl in Lismore, I think, or possibly Ballina or Byron Bay. I think she's in Byron now.
Yeah.
She was pretty much their only go-to person. And I believed at the time that it was quite expensive. She was fairly expensive. It might have been $10,000 or something in that vicinity. That was the impression I got. I don't hold me to that because I don't know if it is the case, if it ever was or if it is now. But I was sort of hunting around too at that stage. I didn't quite know what to do. I felt like I was on my own. There was nobody sort of, ringing up and saying, look, it's been so many months and we think you're at the right stage to be fit with a prosthesis. But about that time when I was looking around, my sister who lives in Melbourne saw an article in the paper down there, and it was a guy called Brenton Cadd who eventually ended up doing this and another one that I've got in Melbourne. And the thing was, it was free down there, and I've since had a couple of these prostheses made up, and I've had ongoing. I think when I take these off, you can see little screws.
Yeah.
There are 4 screws there.
Yeah.
I've had them done. I had these done in August 2017.
So is the eye like attached to the glasses? Is what's attached to the glasses?
No, the whole prosthesis is attached to the glasses, right? The eye,
oh wow.
The face, the eyes in there, all that's attached to the glasses. The idea of this is by putting screws in, they put little metallic pieces in here, and they make another one of these, but they put metallic rods on the back. So instead of this prosthesis being silicone, by the way, being attached to your glasses, you could attach it to your face. Yeah.
Oh,
Without,
wow.
They're a bit infected at the moment actually. There's a bit of leakage there.
That is so incredible.
So that could be a lot more convenient, then I could sort of just...
So did you have to pay for this yourself, or was it part of, do you claim it on your health fund, or?
I haven't paid anything for the prosthesis. All I've paid for was quite a lot of trips down to Melbourne, so there's a lot of flights to Melbourne, but the 2 bits of surgery I've had down there was free. The surgery I had to, what they call it's not debunk, but anyway, they had to scoop the eyeball out so that this prosthesis could fit properly.
Yeah.
Debulk the eyeball, which was just day surgery. I had that done up here with one of the surgeons who did the original surgery. So,
It's just amazing. And I mean, I look into your eye and I feel like I am seriously talking to you. They've just done such an amazing job.
Yeah,
I mean, if you could see it in person, you'd be so impressed with. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. I look and everything's just fitting in, and the colour and everything. They're just so many beautiful, talented people around, and what a wonderful job to be in.
There are so few of them around. I mean, there's only 2 or 3 people in the whole of Australia that make the eyes. They're a separate thing. They're a separate specialty. So I get an eye done, and I take that to the guys who do the prosthesis, and they set the eye in the prosthesis.
Wow.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry, Kelly.
Yeah, our little producer over here wants to ask a question.
Because if I was you, if I was watching, I'd want to know this. Have you thought about writing a book so that if someone goes through what you're going through, they know exactly what they have to do. They don't feel so alone.
No, but if I knew any writers, do you know anybody?
Aha! Well, or even
if I was approached by somebody, I'd be.
Do you think that would have helped you if there was a book that was written
specifically for this?
So you knew what to do next?
Absolutely.
So if you could do that for someone else and help them, you would be willing to do that?
Oh, of course.
I think that's amazing.
Absolutely amazing.
I think you're a phenomenal human.
Yeah.
Thank you, Miss Producer.
Thank you, Miss Producer. Good question.
Yeah, it is a good question, because if you had a handbook, so to speak, if you had something you could go to that, this is what I've got to do next, and this is where I go, that would have helped you so much, in that situation. But today you've done it all, and I mean, so how long has this been going on for now? Where are you now? How?
This last month, October, was 8 years since I had the surgery.
Wow.
So I guess another year before that was when the symptoms started.
Well, you look fantastic. I think you do.
Oh, thanks.
If I saw you on the street, I would not even pick it up.
You know, I think kids pick it up more than adults. They're very astute. But it's just their inquisitive nature, and it's not something I'm offended by. Or
They don't have iPhones.
Well, I think they're honest too. You know, as they say out of the mouth of babes.
Well, they come
You know.
up and say, "What happened to you?" You know?
Yeah.
More so when I had the patch, because it was so,
Obvious.
evident,
Yeah, that
obvious.
way.
Yeah. What happened to you, mister? And I'd tell them, briefly, I had a bit of an accident, and now I'm okay though. Now it's all good. And I got to the point where I'd, have a bit of a
Joke.
joke with them. Yeah, they'd come, "Oh, gee, what happened to you, mister?" "Oh, I got attacked by a lion." "Yeah, fair dinkum. Yeah."
Well, see, you've had a little bit of a happiness spot there and all that anguish, and heartache, and I can only even imagine. I can't even imagine what your life has been like and what you've gone through in the last 8 years, because I just can't comprehend it. That's the word. Yeah, I just couldn't even imagine everything, what it would be like. Because I guess when something is so visual, like your face, because if it's something that can be covered in your body, and you can cover it yourself, I think you feel better. But when it's just there all the time, it's a constant reminder, and it's something constantly that you have to deal with. That would be the hardest thing to.
And eye contact is a very, very important
Very mindful and present.
condition, and people, when you talk to people, you sort of still get this impression that and these go dark with the sun, so you can't always see one eye. Sometimes you can't even see one eye, so it's very. But I guess I went through a series of losses. I mean, the surgery was the start of it. 3 weeks after or 3 weeks before the surgery, I've actually had to close the doors on my business. So I effectively lost my business and lost my income, and I had a partner at the time, and she stayed with me for a little bit longer, but she'd decided to go her own way. Of course, you lose half your face. You lose your self-esteem and your confidence in talking to people, and and depression's a big part of it too. That's a byproduct of
How do you deal with that? Do you see a counsellor?
Very badly. In the last 8 years, I've tried to see. I've seen a lot of psychiatrists, mainly counsellors, but psychiatrists in terms of getting medication. I've tried a lot of medication. I'm at the point now where I take antidepressants, but I'm still quite depressed most of the time. It's been something that hasn't worked very well for me. I'm doing a mindfulness program at the moment. There's a glimmer of hope that could, change
Who's that through?
things.
The Mater?
That's
Mater Hospital?
That's through the John Hunter Hospital up at the Lodge, and I think it's organised through their HIPS program. HIPS is Hunter Integrated Pain Service. And I originally did that program, the Hunter Integrated Pain Service, and then I was asked if I'd like to go on to the mindfulness program.
Wow, it's just...
Yes, Miss Producer.
Yeah. One more question.
1 more minute left. Sorry.
Oh, one more minute.
Also, one more question, if you don't
Yeah.
mind, please. Do you think that that's been the hardest part, the emotional side of this, the depression, rather than the physical healing?
Absolutely. It's very hard to quantify how much the physical has got to do with the emotional and that side of it. But the emotional side is the hardest to deal with. At the end of the day, that's what you've got to live with day by day. And whether if you woke up the next morning and you had your eye back and your nose back, you'd be on top of the world happy and you'd have your life sorted, you don't know. Who knows?
which is why I think you should be commended for sharing your story, because it's not easy at all to do this aside from having to deal with what you have to deal with on a daily basis, living in a world like we have to live in, which is so shallow. And so I commend you, and I think that you're a warrior, and I thank you on behalf of me, myself, Kelly, and all our viewers.
Absolutely, for sharing your story.
Thank you indeed.
And I would be happily, I'd happily write a book for you.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Thank you. We are out of time. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we are out of time.
Okay.
But, you know, each and every week I ask my participants to give a message of hope to someone that's watching, or a little message, or what would you say to maybe someone out there that's going through a similar situation as yourself? What would you say to that person? They might be at the early stages of it. Is there anything that you'd say to that person that you think you wish someone had said to you?
Sometimes it seems very hard to actually be able to talk to people. You don't know who you should talk to. You've got to start somewhere. Everybody says talk to your GP. That is a place to start, but I've often found that family, friends are usually better than talking to a GP. GPs are very good if they've got their finger on the pulse and they know exactly who to direct you to. You need this and you need this and you need this. If they've got a nice suite of things that they can outline for you. But I haven't found that. You know, that they'll give you a script to see a psychiatrist or a counsellor and they'll see how many sessions we can get you for free, or send you off to hydrotherapy, or, you know, they're just sort of playing it by ear as they go along. They've got no intimate, well,
No sense of urgency.
it's not really their fault either, given that. They're dealing with somebody who's
It's a specialist problem.
they've never had a case like me before in their lives, so
They're just like you, really.
pretty much.
So if you've had results like that work for you was with your family and your friends. So you're saying, like, talking to them and
Just talk to people.
I find that friends are probably more valuable to talk to than even psychologists.
Because psychologists
Well,
sometimes
that's-
read from the book.
yeah, that's pretty.
And
That's pretty big. But so I'm going to get back to what we normally do on the show, because it's really thrown me this tonight. Like, and thank you so much for coming on and telling us your story. You know, like we both agree, it's certainly you're a warrior.
You
You
can
know.
save lives. And,
Yeah.
I'd like to check in with you from time to time. on
So
the
I
show.
think what I'll do now is I'll just thank some of the people that have joined us tonight, and yeah, so we've got here we go.
We're breaking all the rules.
Yeah, we're breaking all the rules
Very
tonight.
sorry.
Like, it's so organic, it's not funny. Thanks for that. You didn't know how it was going to go, neither did we. So here we
I knew
are.
I'd throw the cat amongst the pigeons at some stage.
And you know what? I think our viewers will appreciate it and understand why.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no problem with it.
So we've got Colleen Dandelion. Like, thank you, Colleen. Like, every week you are there watching my show, and thank you so much for your wonderful, wonderful support. And hopefully we may tell your story one day. We've got Margaret Moffat, Denise Martin. Thank you, Denise, for tuning in. And I know it's hard for you to get the time sometime to do this. And we've got Wayne Lennon. Thank you so much. And Sharon Sharp, who waved. Thank you, Sharon. Christine Lowen and Shireen Lowe. Thank you, Shireen, from Brisbane. We've got Kate Clulow, Georgina Harry, Lola Rashalan. So Lola was on a few weeks ago on the show. So thank you for viewing and joining in on and building my dream, basically. We've got Joanne Haskey. So thank you so much, Joanne. And thank you everyone, because like I said, without you joining in each and every week and supporting me and my dream, I can't bring you these stories. So it's important for you to tune in and share it. So hit the share button and get your other friends to listen, because these stories are so valuable. And from me, from all of us here, the whole team, thank you everyone, and thanks again, Geoffrey, for joining.
You're a champion, Joanne said. And
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you for sharing the story. There have been comments up, so
Oh, good.
Yeah, you're a
it's
champion.
unanimous.
Oh, this
Yeah.
has been streaming, has it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we've been streaming. So
Live
there you
on
go.
Live TV, amazing.
No way out of it. That's what we said. We're breaking all the rules. We usually have a whole set out that we just do on. We're just like robotic, kind of thing. But tonight we've been very organic. So you've made us do things a little bit differently. So thank you, everyone, and know out there that if you're dealing with anything in life right now, and you're at that stage in your life where you just don't know what to do, just go and talk to someone, go and get some help. There's so many organisations out there. Just Google it, whatever is wrong with you, Google it and get some help. And
If there's no organisations, maybe think about starting one.
Yeah, so
maybe we could start one.
ring Lifeline, that's a very good start. Talk to your GP, go and see a psychologist, a psychiatrist, talk to your best friend, talk to someone in your family, but share the load.
Inbox us.
And inbox me, for sure. So go to onthecouchwithkelly.com and you'll find access to emails and stuff like that, and they're highly confidential, so you don't have to worry about sharing a story. So tonight I say thank you to everyone, and know that no matter what in life, and little Chili here making a little appearance, but no matter what in life, do not give up. Know you're going to be okay. So it's good night from us. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Mhm.